So after the last video, I got a wave of responses I was honestly not expecting. So today, I wanted to follow up with a tour of my sketchbooks from the past 30 years and what I've learned from doing these. This isn't a tutorial, more like a journey. This isn't just a sketchbook tour, it's a glimpse into how creativity unfolds, slowly, awkwardly, relentlessly. One journal per year, one page at a time. Just to give you an idea what was going on and how I was drawing year by year. I'm not sharing everything here because that would take a long video. Back then, these journals were informal, no plan, just doodling with a ballpoint pen. What you're seeing here is my life in lines. I'm pretty much an open book by sharing with you these sketchbooks. So back then, I was in the middle of art school. I had no idea where I was going, just like the fool in the tarot. But that's where all journeys begin. No one told me to get started with this habit of drawing every day or keep a journal. I had no guidance, no one to encourage me to do it. I just did it out of curiosity. I wanted to see what would happen, and eventually it became a habit, and I really enjoyed it. Every single moment of it. Of course, there were moments of frustration and just like, I just want to quit. But I kept going because there was nothing else to do. It was a good thing because there was no distractions, no internet, no social media, no Instagram. And it was a great time to be alive as an artist because you just can focus on your craft. And these were very cheap, affordable materials, nothing fancy. Not expensive oil tubes or canvases or stuff like that. No, just pen and paper. That was it. These sketchbooks were quite affordable back then, and they still are. There's just no excuses. And yet, these cheap notebooks, bought from school supply stores and pharmacies, became something sacred. These drawings really opened creative possibilities for me. I experimented with lines and materials. I started to incorporate magic markers, collage once in a while, and all these experiments really informed my way of understanding art at the time. I also used pastel, charcoal, watercolor, whatever became available at the moment, and it was my testing ground for new materials. Back in the year 2000, that was a breakthrough year. Sadly, that journal was stolen, but I remember it, full of energy, weird experiments, and ideas that exploded into paintings. And that's what you don't see in a single sketch, the seed of something greater. These years were all about loosening the hand, gesture, rhythm, flow, figure drawing, nature studies, raw ideas. Some pages were terrible. Honestly, very bad. But that wasn't the point. I didn't make these to impress anyone. They were just for me. Private rehearsals for something I couldn't quite name yet. Now, starting from 2005 onward, I started to paint a lot more and draw a lot less. What's really wild is mistakes didn't stop with practice. They still happened. I still kept messing my drawings. Ups and downs happen to all artists, no matter the level of mastery. What you learn is to handle them better. Those moments of frustration, you just take a deep breath and move on, next page. On these pages, you'll notice how my inspiration went from nature, drawing trees, animals, the human figure, to my own imagination, to history and politics in the early 2000s. But these pages still reflect where my mind was. Nature, the human body, the world around me, mythology, and eventually tarot. It wasn't until 2008 that I started to explore esoteric traditions, like alchemy, astrology, tarot, and archetypes deriving from myths and pagan traditions. This, of course, converged with my religious iconography and pop culture references to create a new way of seeing things that I hadn't considered before. Everything began to shift, became more esoteric. That mix of old and new, memory collided with myth. It was a messy, beautiful convergence of ideas. I was very much interested in archetypes. That's when it really grew on me. this keen interest in archetypes, not just from the tarot, but also from astrology and in general in Jungian psychology. And I felt like that was just materia prima. Those hidden forces in nature and in the cosmos and in the human psyche were just waiting to be tapped in and channeled through drawings. And that's what I did, explore archetypes, try to understand them better through reading books, writing, being out in nature, thinking about these constantly. Just try to tap into these hidden forces, draw them. By 2013, I hit a stride. I was making tons of sketches and paintings. But the more I painted, the less I drew. But the sudden burst in ideas, preliminary sketches, spilled over 2014, the year where I produced some of my best paintings. Drawings dropped that year, and then I picked it up back in 2015. At the time, I was immersed in books, learning Latin, and of course the news. Then life happened, life-changing accidents, hurricanes, and becoming a parent. All of a sudden, my work became more personal. It started to turn inward, became more introspective. But then, Hurricane Maria happened, and nearly all of my journals were lost. But my cousin and her husband rescued them from my collapsed studio and home back in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Sealed in plastic bins, they saved not just notebooks, but decades of memory. And I owe them everything for that kind gesture. So the reason why I bring up the Fool from the Tarot, it's because it precisely describes the feeling at the moment of doing this journal. I didn't know anyone else doing this. And sometimes I was called crazy or just being foolish. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. I remember drawing a statue in Aguadilla. I was out in the plaza and people were looking at me and saying, "Mira ese tipo, qué loco." It's like, look at that guy. This guy is crazy. It's like people, because they've never seen that before. Perhaps they've never seen someone draw a statue. I don't know. It seemed foolish for them in their eyes at the time. So I didn't have a problem with that. I felt like the Fool from the Tarot was the perfect embodiment of this practice, because how often do you see people drawing? I started drawing when I was very young, but it wasn't until 1995 that I started collecting these art journals and drawing on them, just as a matter of practice. And in 1996, I decided to adopt the daily practice of drawing every single day for nearly nine years. Early on, I tried to fix every little flaw, adding more lines, overcompensating, trying perhaps too hard. What happened had the opposite effect. I made my mistakes even more visible. It's like when you stumble while talking and then you try to fix your mistake by explaining and over-explaining, and instead you make it worse. It's just the same with drawing. Now, I just acknowledge the mistake and move on. I've learned to play to my strengths and let the eyes skip over the rest. I never rip a page. I try to keep it all there. Well, honestly, I've ripped a page or two, but I try to keep them there just to be mindful of the things that I've learned, and all the stumbles are really important to be reminded of the things that worked and that didn't work. Sometimes fewer lines say more. Page simply breathes better. I instead focus on what my strengths are and where I had to add more lines or less. And if I just didn't need any lines at all, just omit it completely. Invisible lines are as powerful as visible, but just in the right places and at the right moment. Now, let's be honest. Some of these pages make me cringe. Others, I barely remember drawing. But they're all part of it. They're all part of the process. The process is what matters. It's not the result. That's how I actually started drawing, with that in mind. A line made in silence is still a line. I've drawn through heartbreak, joy, confusion, exhaustion. On airports, on buses, hospital waiting rooms. Some days I drew because I just wanted to. Other days, because I had to. These journals don't just reflect me, they remind me. They remind me of what keeps me going. Some of these faces never made it into a painting. Some of these drawings were never meant to be seen. They were just personal, private. Maybe that's what makes them matter. There's no performance here, no polish, just the raw line, being alive. I never thought I'd share these, much less on YouTube. Huh, really? But maybe someone out there needs to hear this. You don't need to wait to be great. You don't need the perfect pen or perfect paper. You don't even need much time. You just need to start. Because the truth is, the only bad drawing is the one that never happened in the first place. Just get started. I'm just sharing here a few journals, a few pages. Drawing became less about proving anything and more about listening. It was turning into a kind of quiet conversation. It's more like a state of mind. And I've talked with much older artists than myself, artists that I deeply respect, and they tend to coincide with the idea that as you grow older, your work becomes more personal. There are things in life that matter deeply. You don't want to miss those moments for anything in the world. Why not make a sketch? Why not capture the moment in a drawing? In recent years, I'd say that I'm starting to look back at nature, memories, and my own imagination for inspiration. So in a way, I've gone full circle. And hey, there's no right or wrongs here. You have to pick your own path. And often, this path leads you in the right direction if you're just tapping into your own soul and what you're feeling at the moment. Years later, my drawings are just messier, more personal. Some drawings are loose and fast. Others are detailed and obsessive. I stopped chasing perfection and started chasing meaning. You'll see familiar faces, figures I've drawn for decades. It's interesting to see how many of these faces, some of these from friends, family members, come back eventually as memories. Each one little echo of something I was trying to understand. They taught me how to see, not just the world around me, but the world within me, the internal pantheon of archetypes within me. These books aren't perfect by any means, but they became a map, a mirror to the soul, a compass to guide me through uncertainty, one line at a time. Now I'm back to drawing every day, not for an audience, not for a gallery, just to breathe. Not to impress anyone, not to brag or prove anything, but just to be. This drawing, Pandora, felt like the right symbol, because creativity, like a myth, is both a gift and a curse. You open the box and everything comes out. Joy, fear, regret, wonder. But at the bottom of the box, hope. It's how I remember who I am when the world gets too loud. So I return to the ritual, one line at a time, then another. I look back and I wish I had drawn even more, but time flies. And if you're not careful, you look up and it's been 30 years. I know some of you might think that I just flipped through all these journals too quickly. It was just too fast. If you want to take a deeper look at a specific year or journal, just let me know in the comments. And let me ask you, have you started drawing every day? Have you noticed a shift in creativity? Let me know, and if you ever need drawing tips or just a nudge, I'm here for you, because this path is worth taking. And as I always say, may the gods, muses, angels, or whatever you want to call these timeless archetypes be your guides and inspiration. Till next time, peace. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Also, check out the video on the screen right now for more insights and inspiration. Your support means everything to me and helps this channel grow. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.